Okay, today we're going to go over some watercolor techniques. Some of them will be review and some will be new. The first watercolor technique we are going to do is going to be a wash. This is a review, so pick one of your rectangles in your paper. You should have folded it into 8 sections. So one of your rectangles, write wash in it. I don't care what, top or bottom, that's up to you. Okay, and pretty simply, it's going to be a nice, even layer. One smooth value all the way across. So first off, I need to get my water. So I get some water in my eyedropper, put it in the well of the palette. Then I take my brush. My brush needs to be wet. I'm going to use this brush for this. Pick my color, and when I use my color, I just need to kind of gently wipe through, and then I mix it with that water that I put in my palette. And then I go back and get more. Now remember, this is watercolor, so it's not going to be real dark real fast. You got to build it up slowly to get it darker. Okay, you're going to need plenty of water there, so I don't have enough, so I'm going to add more water with my eyedropper. I'm going to add just a little more color to that water. Okay, and now I'm going to start at the top, go across, drop down a little bit, go across, just barely letting it touch the rim, the edge of the top of the layer above. If it puddles like that, that's all right, because I'm going to pull it down. Slowly bringing it down. When I start to run out of a puddle, I get more paint. I need that puddle. If I don't have a puddle, it's not going to go very evenly. All the way down that first rectangle. Try to make it as even as you can. Okay, so there's my wash. Fairly even in color. I mixed it with water and kept it going all the way down. I'll wipe off my palette, my brush, dry off my brush a little bit. Okay, then we're going to set up our glaze. So you can go to another rectangle, I don't care which, and write glaze. Glaze is layers, and this is how you get things darker, is by using layers. So the first thing we're going to do is just put down, use the color that you've already done. I'm just going to put down a wash of the blue in a section. And I think I'll make, because I'm pretty much out of paint now, I'm going to make a little more of a color. I think I'll make a blue-green. So I'm going to put some green in my blue. And in another section here, I'm going to do some blue-green. That's really white. Okay, I'm going to have to add a little more color to that. That's too watery. Barely see it. Add a little more blue and green to that. Okay, I'm not doing a glaze yet. I'm just going on top of it. This is still wet and wet, so it's not going to go as even as I want, but it'll be okay. Okay, now you can see that color better. All right, so I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll come back to finishing the glaze later. Move on to my next technique. I'm going to set these off to the side because my papers are separate to fit in my camera. And we are going to go on to resist. Resist can be with tape. It can be with wax, rubber cement, and something called frisket. That's supposed to be an S. F-R-I-S-K-E-T. We're actually going to use quite a few of these techniques. Tape, if you remember from before, you just take and lay some tape, preferably white tape, down where you don't want it to go. If I had a color on there already, I could put the tape on top and it would preserve it. I'm just going to put a couple pieces of tape down and make sure my edges are the way I want them to be. Okay. Then I can also do rubber cement. Well, apparently my rubber cement dried out. See if I can get a little bit to stick. Just going to put it down where I want it to go. And if I want finer lines, then I can do frisket. And I just unscrew this top white piece, pull that little needle out, and I'm going to put the frisket on in the design that I want. And let that dry. When I'm done with that, I make sure to clean off the tip with a paper towel, just kind of wipe it off. And then I put this little needle back into here. I'm going to have to wait for that frisket to dry before I can go on with that. So we'll come back to the resist as well. So in the meantime, we're going to review bleeding. Bleeding you did last year as well. You need a couple of colors that can mix well. I already have my blue-green, so I think I'll also do a yellow. Because I can add yellow to it and make it more of a green. That's probably not going to show up very well. I think I'll do a blue. I'll do a blue. Okay, I'm going to put the blue down first. It's just a wash again. And before that dries, I'm going to take another brush, a smaller brush. I'm going to get some of my blue-green on there, and I'm going to put a drop on there. That's not enough to show up. And it'll start spreading out. Kind of runs together. And put lines and let it run together. Don't cover the entire thing with that, though. And you can kind of see how it's reacting. I'm going to make a green real quick and try it, see if it'll show up a little better. I mix my green. That's still wet. That should kind of, it's a little more dry, so it's not going to spread out as much. One more time here with the blue. And then the green on top. See how it just kind of runs together. Mine's dripping down because my desk is slanted too. Yours might actually do like a little spreading out, hopefully. Okay, moving on. So that's bleeding, letting it just kind of fuzzy, get those fuzzy edges. Or bleed out, run out. If you put drops, it should run out. Okay, we'll come back to the resist later on once that's dry. Right now, we're going to go to paper towel blotch. So you need a piece of paper towel, torn off. It doesn't need to be a huge piece, just a decent sized piece. I'm going to use the same colors just because that's the way I don't have to mix it up again. I'm going to use this blue-green. I'm going to put some down. I'm going to crumple my paper towel a little bit and remove some of it, not all of it, because I want to see some of that color, some of that texture. I'm always moving my paper towel to a new spot. Keep pulling that down before it dries. Remove some of it to get a texture. And that is paper towel blotch. Forgot to write that down, didn't I? Oh, and I see I forgot to write down bleeding on the previous one too. So if you haven't written it down already, go back to bleeding and write bleeding down, which is fuzzy edges. And paper towel blotch. Okay, moving on. A new technique is salt. So, I'll go with a big brush this time. You can vary your sizes and depending on what kind of marks you're making. I'm going to take this blue that I already have mixed, put it down. It's awfully dry. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Before it dries, I take and sprinkle the salt on there and let it kind of react. I don't think I had enough water in it to do anything, so I got to make more paint. My paintbrush soaked up most of the paint. I'm going to switch to a different brush. Okay, so I've got some blue on there. Sprinkle the salt on, and it should kind of soak up that color a little bit wherever the salt lands and just kind of react. starting to see it react some, soaking up some of that water. Okay, that's all there is to salt. You can see a little bit of texture right in here where it's starting to react. Right in there. See how it's getting a little bit lighter in spots? Okay, so that's salt. Two more to go, and then we have to go back to a few. Scratch. You can scratch into your painting some to create texture. So I'm going to take my brush, my color, put some color down. That spread out a little bit so it's not too heavy. Then I'm going to take the end of my paintbrush, the other end, and I'm just going to scratch into it. And now if I go on top of that with a green, you can see that a little bit differently. You can see how I made lines. So you can do that with just about any tool you want to scratch with. That's up to you what you want to kind of scratch with to get your design. If you want something thicker, find something thicker, like a craft stick. I don't know, be as creative as you want. Okay. Last thing, last new technique we're doing is plastic wrap. Plastic wrap. Plastic wrap